Scunthorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.
Open wide for some soccer!
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. It is our second podcast as league leaders and the epitome of football. And long may it continue. We'll go through everything. Please do feel free to throw your questions at us. Thank you to everyone else who's already sent some our way as well. We'll have a chat with, we'll answer some of them and have a look at what's gone on in the last couple of days because games have come thick and fast. Talk about our draw with Bromsgrove, which has made telly. And we'll also have a chat with Ryan, who has very kindly joined us from the NL Musings blog, who will talk to us around. Sort of now it's 10 games in, we can sensibly look at the league table and not be stupid. And we find we're top of it. It's a load of easy. Stop the count mentions still relevant. Is that still a relevant meme? Can we still at least shout that out? Bruce is looking resplendent in his office. He's on mute. Are you all right?
I'm all right, thank you, mate. Yeah, we've had worse weeks at one following town, haven't we?
I'm having to live in this office, I think, at the moment.
I thought I'd try and just keep the mood just a little bit low with a relegation shirt. I just thought, just temper things. Although I'm thoroughly enjoying it after my trip to Altrincham midweek. I don't know about you, but you feel devastated any game that you miss at the moment.
I mean, the skeptic among me says most town shirts are relegation shirts, are they not? So there's enough bad juju in them. Tom recovered from yesterday. I do. Recovered from yesterday. Found the station again after we went our ways for a bit. How is everything down on the south coast?
Not as sunny as yesterday, but fine, thanks. Yeah.
Did you catch the sun at all? It's a little bit tender up here, and I've noticed I'm getting a bald spot.
Did I catch what? Sorry.
Did you catch the sun yesterday?
The sun?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, because it was.
Am I really
hot.
quiet, or was that a really difficult question?
No, he took it.
No, it was breaking up at my end.
Okay, fine. And Ryan, thank you very much for joining us. Do you know what? I'm very rude. I've entirely forgotten who you support, so I can't even inquire about how it's going. Who are your allegiances to?
My full allegiance is Birmingham City, which it's been a bit up and down so far.
I mean, so detached from the world of the Championship nowadays. I assume like Zola is still your manager, and it's going absolutely swimmingly. At Coventry, I assume, are no longer with you, at least.
They are not.
Good. I mean, they look terrible tenants. But hopefully they put some cash in your bank. I mean, so it's 10 games in. It's a sensible time to look at the table. Feel free to throw questions at Ryan as well. Because apart from, aren't we really good? It's probably about that. Nathan Moncaster, before we started, he wanted to know if Giles Coke has actually announced the winner of his guess the attendance thing. And I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here because there were quite a few comments on social media saying that 889 was not the accurate attendance because a lot of people got in without being scanned. I don't know if you did, Tom, but it did feel a bit lax. It was just two blokes.
They didn't scan mine, no.
Yeah, there's just a couple of blokes on the terrace. It's a bit like Maidenhead, where you had to go back out through the turnstiles to get out of the stadium, which felt a little bit like a fire hazard, but apparently it was absolutely fine. But there we go. Right, so Ryan, 10 games in. Who have been the teams that haven't met expectations yet? Do you think?
I suppose the first three, you're kind of looking straight at the sort of bigger clubs in the league, aren't you? So I suppose the four that always come to mind for me are Chesterfield, Stockport, Notts County and Wrexham. Obviously, Chesterfield have done quite well. Wrexham, Notts County, and Stockport probably haven't quite got going yet. I suppose the huge one is, I mean, whether you take the off-field stuff as a bit of a major red flag going into the season, I suppose Southend are probably the big club that have massively fallen below expectations. I mean, I'm not sure many from the outside expected them to do well this season, but for them to be 21st, obviously Phil Brown's just been sacked. It's they're probably the ones you look at down the bottom of the league and go, ooh, don't know about that.
Right, Ryan, do you think with given how many points, how often this league is won with a massive amount of points, that Wrexham are already struggling at 9 points back from the top of the table? Yes, all right for the playoffs, but automatic wise, or is it too early? Do you think? With it's just not teams don't drop a lot of points at the top of this league, do they?
No, I think most sides tend to take about 10 games to really sort of find their rhythm. I think that probably happens in most divisions, to be fair. The one thing I noticed with Wrexham earlier, looking at their fixtures, is they've had a really tough start. If you look at the actual games they've played, I think they've played, top of my head, I think they've played Chesterfield, Stockport, Notts County. I think they've played you guys yet? Yeah, played you guys.
Got hammered.
Oh, yes, they have.
Got hammered.
Played Solihull Moors, so they've had a really, really tough start to the season. So you wonder if now they've kind of maybe found the feet a little bit, whether they can actually start to, you know, I'd imagine they're going to be facing a few more sides now they're looking at and going, you know, we should be winning 3 points here. So if they can put a run together over the next, say, 5 to 10 games and win sort of 7 out of the next 10, then all of a sudden they're right back up there, aren't they?
Mike is coming in with the most important questions, apparently. I don't know. Do Bromley have a reputation for being shithouses? Because I don't know if you saw what happened at our game, but it was the oddest thing I've ever seen. All 3 of their goals, their fans made a direct run 50 yards across the pitch to us in the pissing rain, just to wind us up. I've not seen anything like it. So Mike, I think, is still hurt from it and he's ready to sort of deal out some retribution, I think.
Do you know what? I kind of love that. I think with obviously no fans have been at grounds and stuff, have they? It's
not a problem.
Nice watching the fans come back, whether you're the away fans of Blues or whether you're sort of watching things in the National League, and just it's great having the fans back, isn't it? I mean, obviously you guys would have had it yesterday with the Woking game. Just pure bedlam with a last minute winner goes in. I'd imagine for Bromley as well. I mean, I know they've got promotion ambitions, but I suppose you guys haven't lost yet. To beat you guys, it would have been a, massive scalp. I'm guessing they were just absolutely buzzing with it, weren't they?
We'll take it as a compliment, and I'll look forward to the DVD coming out.
That crowd was good yesterday, Alex, wasn't it? Regardless of the town following, 4,500.
Well, that was a question I was going to ask, Ryan, because I know I've been giving off the idea that I'm some sort of king of Woking and I understand what the Surrey people are like. But the last time I regularly went to any games at the Kingfield Stadium, they were getting 1,600 or so as an average. All of a sudden, there's like 3,500 of them there. I know. The people of Surrey don't get that up, sort of that emotional, unless someone changes their bin delivery date. I've never seen anything like it. It's something gone on at Woking. I know they're talking about a new ground that's not getting off the air. Do you know anything about that, Ryan? Very rude of me to ask you, even though I'd pick up the local newspaper.
I know they've had they had a massive shake-up this summer with regards to, obviously they finished last season. I think they picked up, if I remember rightly, it was 2 points from the last 15 games. They basically just, there was no relegation. They basically just threw it in. A few of the young players started playing. This summer, they went big, basically overhauled pretty much the entire starting 11, the exception of 1 or 2. And they've basically had a good go this summer. So I don't know if there's a bit of sort of excitement with, I don't know if they've had new ownership or new money come in. They must have had something. But there might be a bit more of an optimism there. And I'm guessing as well with the beat Dagenham, then the beat Notts County, obviously 4-1. Then the beat, who was the other one that beat? Chesterfield.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing coming into your game as well, there's probably a lot of fans sort of right up for it, thinking, we're really good.
I mean, we'll touch on it later, but Woking fans were a little bit obsessed with how bad Grimsby is. And as someone who lives down here, I know what Maybury Road looks like. So if any Woking fans are here, you can't come in here telling us that. I know what it's like to live down here. Don't start giving it the big one just because you got a Carluccio's. Right. I guess really the questions we really should ask is obviously, I'd like to think we've surprised a few, but who are the other dark horses that have been going around? I'd consider Woking as one. Is there anybody else that we should be worried about?
I think probably the other 5 that I think are in the top 7 now or top 8. Boreham Wood are obviously second at the moment. They had things went a bit flat last year, and there was a big sort of thing with their chairman coming out saying that certain people didn't want to be a part of the club and weren't doing enough to sort of really bring that togetherness together. And they had a big changeover, not just in playing staff, but also coaching staff and people behind the scenes. And listening to a couple of Luke Gerard's interviews this year, he's been very bullish in terms of, this group are fantastic. This group are, we're together. We wouldn't have won this game last year and that sort of talk. So their start's been really good. Only issue they might have is until the last couple of games they basically played the exact same 11 for about 7-8 games in a row. Made a couple of changes the last couple of games, but I don't know how, if 1 or 2 potentially pick up injuries, you don't quite know how they're going to cope. Halifax and Bromley, I think, are just a lot of fun. Always have been. Look like they've tightened up a little bit defensively, but Bromley have always been a side that just score a lot of goals and concede a lot of goals, and they've actually looked like they're tightening up a bit now. So I think they've won 5 of their first 9, sort of 1-0. So they're a lot of fun. And I think Dagenham and Redbridge and Solihull Moors, they're 2 sides that probably spent a fair bit of money in the past, maybe tighten things slightly, try and keep a bit more consistency the last couple of seasons. And again, they're 2 sides that probably feel within themselves they should be up there. Whether they quite manage it, I think they'll be looking for a top 7 finish at least. But they're probably the 5 at the moment that have really shot on. Looking further down the division, it's hard to really see who's going to mount a big push, if I'm being honest. Unless Torquay do something.
I was just going to say, Dagenham were obviously the early pace setters, weren't they? But look, just looking at I just had the same screen on that Alex had on, and they look like they've lost 4 of the last 5. So maybe their early season bubble has burst, and it'll just be interesting over the next, like you say, over the next few games, the smaller clubs, just to see, whether they can maintain this for 15 games and then 20 games, and whether they can, or whether that, whether they will slowly fall away. And interesting to see how long we can sit on top of the pile.
Yeah, I think Dagenham have lost 4 of the last 5. They've only kept 1 clean sheet this season as well. And there's always a comment from, I think it was Kenny Jackie possibly, sort of talking about binary numbers with football and your defensive numbers, sort of conceding 1s and 0s. And I think when you've got a side that aren't keeping clean sheets, you're never going to score goals forever. You've kind of got to ground out those horrible, 1-0, 2-1 sort of victories, haven't you? Or keep a 0-0 when you need to. So I think if you're not keeping clean sheets, it's a bit of a dangerous territory to go down, really. So I'm kind of not surprised now looking at it. Dagenham have dropped down a touch. Kind of brings me to Stockport and obviously seeing them down in 10th, but they've had 3 games where things have gone horribly wrong. And otherwise, they've kind of continued what they did last season, which is just concede 1 or concede 0. I think they're the side that, even though they're not playing particularly well at the moment, they've just started winning football matches again. So I'm quite interested to see how they go the next few games, because I still think they're the side that, of the sort of big money sides, I think them and Chesterfield are probably the 2 that I'm looking at and thinking they could really push over sort of a 8-10 game period and just go undefeated.
Sort of speaking of sort of touching on what you've just been speaking about, Ryan, and Bruce, when you were talking about teams that have sort of dropped points early on, and will Wrexham even be considered title challengers? I did do a bit of work on it yesterday because I was still buzzing and my wife wasn't talking to me, being a Woking fan. So I sat there on my computer instead. And it was so I was having a look, points after 11 games. So out of the last teams that won it since we got promoted, this time after 11 games, Cheltenham had 24 points, who won it the season we got promoted. Lincoln had 22 fans and points. Macclesfield had 17 points. Orient had 23. Barrow had 13, but obviously they had a smaller points total, which actually in fact, that's even more impressive because they had less time to turn it around to get those points back. And then Sutton had 23. They played a couple of games less as well. And we've got 26. So out of them, we've had it. I know someone asked me, what about everybody else? Who was leading at this time? I can't do the maths on that manually. I've got things to do. But it stands in good stead, at least. And it seems to be you need to get 1.89 points per game to stay up there. But it'll be interesting to see. We've obviously never had a start this strong, and I guess it'd be nice to get a sort of a casual observer's view, really, on sort of how we're going. The thought process around here to be particularly, I'll come at it from a particularly negative standpoint, if we can find one, is that there's worries that we don't have the strike force up front, and we're quite lucky that goals are coming from everywhere, but if McAtee or Taylor were to get injured, for example, we don't have a Tishmanga or a Mullin or a like to help cover. What have your thoughts been on Town really coming through?
I think one of the big things with that, though, like you say, goals are sort of coming from everywhere at the minute. But when you see things like Notts County, I think 18 of their 20 goals have been scored or assisted by Wootton, Robertson, Rodriguez. You've got Solihull Moors, 16 of their 17 goals have come from their front throw. I think Wrexham have scored 11 and Mullin has scored or assisted 7 of those. So if you're in a position whereby you've got a Ryan Taylor who may be missing for a game and you're looking and going, well, you know, two or three other players there that are going to step up. And I think that's probably it's probably better to have goals coming from everywhere than it is. I don't like Sutton never really had a main striker last year. You had Bajil and Aloafi, and I mean Aloafi scored quite a few, but you had goals coming from Craig Eastman in midfield. You had the centre half scoring goals. You had a left back who could take free kicks, and you've got goals coming from all over the place. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that you've got, you've probably had about 7-8 different goal scorers so far. And I think the one thing I was a bit unsure about leading into the season was I know Hurst was toying a bit between 3-5-2 and 4-3-3 in this pre-season. But it looks like he's very quickly settled on a starting 11 that's just working. He's not making too many changes, maybe the odd one here or there, but it looks like he's got a very settled system, a very settled idea of what he wants. And, that is working. I suppose the only thing you can really say with the McAtee-Taylor situation is if one of them does get injured, I suppose it's a chance for someone else to step up.
Tom, are you having
this time round rather than, if someone gets injured, you've got the loan market to deal with as well.
Yeah, that's true. Tom, are you all right? It looks like you're experiencing an earthquake. Is it messing up? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, and I'll take you off. Okay. I mean, that's probably a good thing.
I can't hear a lot of what people are saying because of my connection for some reason. So I'll just contribute when I can.
Okay, man. I'll leave you on. Give us a shout if you need it. On it. Who's wearing a Hibs top? I assume it's Tom. Tom usually wears all sorts. Yeah. He always wears absolutely random football stuff that he's found in a charity shop. Amazing.
I think I got the Wrexham score wrong, Alex, as well before anyone points it out later on.
Why? What did you say?
I said 1-0, didn't I? But we didn't. We scored 3, didn't we?
We did. Max
was it 3-1?
Yeah, Max Wright got injured celebrating, didn't he?
Bless him. Yeah, nice to see.
Justin. an interesting point on Wrexham. They're having their pitch redone currently, so they've had to rearrange a few home games. So they'll probably get a run later in the season where they have maybe 3 home games on the trot, which is quite interesting because they're obviously getting big crowds, and that could prove to be crucial when the running comes around.
Do you think that helps, though? Do you think that helps having such a big crowd and such big expectations on them? Because those players, I guess, haven't been used to that.
I think if you had the choice of playing 3, whenever these games have been rearranged for, if you had the choice of playing 3 home games on the trot with a packed house of 8,000 and you're vying for the title, you'd take that every time, because it's not just the home crowd, it's the not having to do the travelling. So you can just spend all week at work on the training grounds until game day, and then come game day, with all those people in the crowd, you've got a good chance of sort of out singing the opposition and making the atmosphere as best you can for your players. So yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes our recent performances even better. Our recent results, particularly the last 2, even better. That we went to Bromley on a Tuesday night. Was that straight after Maidenhead? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was. We had Maidenhead on the Saturday.
We went to Maidenhead on the Saturday. Then we went to Bromley on the Tuesday, and then we had we were at home to Dover on the Saturday, which you're at home, and then we were away Tuesday night at Altrincham, and then away Saturday. Again at Woking, to pick up 6 points or 9 points in the week, I think is particularly impressive with all the travelling we've done.
It's been, it's going to be a slog this season, given how many Southern teams are in it. So, I mean, I guess the question is, Ryan, after such a short period, who are you expecting to be fighting it out at the top? Is it going to be just ourselves and Chesterfield? Are we going to stay there, or do you think it's going to be something that could fade away and sort of inexperience in the league is going to take over? What do you see coming out until Christmas? I guess is probably the best thing to judge on.
I can't say at the moment that there's any reason you guys would drop off watching what you're doing. From what I can see, it just looks like a very well-oiled machine, not particularly, fantastic, in terms of the way the game's being played at times. Just, you look like you've got that gritty edge to you that, you're going to need at this level. You've got to be able to play direct. You've got to be able to turn the opposition's defence. You look comfortable doing it.
Ryan says we're going up.
Right, see you next week, mate. Nice one, that'll do.
I'm taking it.
It's hard to say with everybody else. I mean, I've just had a look at Wrexham.
I know that was such a shit question. I'll be entirely honest.
Yeah.
What's going to happen between now and Christmas? Tell us now.
I mean, Chesterfield are going to be up and around there. I think they're a side that are just going to, dug out wins. They're not particularly, again, exciting, fluent side. They're just very functional in what they do and very good at what they do. And obviously, with the 2 strikers they've got, they're going to score goals regardless.
Is there a team bigger than Woking? I guess that's the question I want to ask, because those things have been genetically modified. I've never seen a team like it. It's like that. It was someone had already made the similar comment that I did. They looked like the Monsters team from Space Jam.
Do you know what? I love that Woking side. He had it a couple of seasons ago, season before last, and it's just he played 4-3-3 most weeks. And it'd just be long balls, set pieces. And I've never seen a team score so many goals just by getting first contact at a set piece. So good at it. And you one of them where you're coming up against it, but I suppose it's not a particularly easy thing to stop it because just the sheer size of them. I mean, even the 2 midfielders are about 6'5" each, aren't they?
I've never. There's got one player who's a tiny guy, and the other ones. I mean, I'd love to, if they ever get to a point, I'd love to see like the Champions League montage where the cameraman is having to pan across, and then all of a sudden it just has to drop 3 foot just to get the top of his forehead in.
What, for the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's Casey as well, and he's
Yeah, that's him.
Casey's
That's
the
him.
one, and he's the captain, so it'd be literally at the start, and then you just see the camera rise up.
They might just have to have a double one. Gentlemen, have you got anything else to ask Ryan before I let him go? And he doesn't have to listen about is it a red card or not, or was it a foul throw? I've got.
Is it was the Papaga thing?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, right.
It was yellow. It was a yellow card.
I mean, I wasn't going to have the discussion now.
Let's just end the discussion now. You have to be at least 2 meters from the thrower, which you want. And then any opponent who unfairly distracts or impedes the thrower, including moving closer than 2 meters, is cautioned for unsporting behaviour and given an indirect free kick. The player can throw the ball at another player as long as it's not deemed careless or reckless by the referee. So just to end the debate finally, because I'm sick of talking about it, it was a yellow card. It was a stupid thing to do.
Why is it not letting me mute him?
Let's hope he looks at the rule book and learns for next time. Don't make the referee decision when.
He was getting too excited. Connection, sorry, mate. And it started now in the comments.
Now you've done it. Now you've done it.
This is all I'm getting now in the comments. Anyway, I mean,
had he been booked before the?
Yeah. It was apparently a light one, but I hadn't seen it.
It was a little bit of a
basically as the guy goes to throw it, he jumps in the air to hit the ball away.
Yeah, he did. I did it. I thought it was
a yellow. I might get abused for that one, but I thought it was a yellow.
Thomas, I didn't do that to Tom, by the way. I don't know what's going on with him. He's also changed his.
Go on, sorry.
No, I didn't. I thought he changed his name, but he hadn't. It was just that guy's question coming up. Hang on, I'm going to remove him and see if it kicks him back in.
What if the guy? Just finally, what if the guy? I mean, I know he shouldn't have jumped, and for that reason, it probably is a yellow. But if the guy chucks it at him before he's had a chance to retreat, surely that's not a yellow card.
It was attempted murder. That's what it was, Bruce.
Right. On that note, anyway, yeah, we'll end that bit there. Anyway, he's had a rest. We won the game, and he's back next game, isn't he?
It was attempted murder. He should be done. I don't know if the picture was loud, but Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening to this rabble. We will love to have you on later, hopefully in the same circumstances, so we can just talk about how many points is the world record total for the National League champions. But until then, it has been a pleasure. Good luck with everything. Where are they in the championship now? They're in the championship, right?
Yeah, I think we've just dropped back into the bottom half. It's been started really well, and then the last month or so has been not great. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not, so I'm going to refrain.
Yeah, of course you can. I mean, we had John Fenty as a chairman for 16 years. You have to fucking swear on this thing.
You'll have to have a think. You'll have to have a think as well, Ryan. Next time you come on, of the best former Birmingham player that's played for us. Your favourite.
Did Tommy Mooney play?
You might be too young, to be fair. Have a look back through the history books and see how many transfers you can see between the two. Pick your favourite.
I remember going to St Andrews and losing 4-1, and a piece of the roof nearly chopped my head off.
Oh, the roof fell off on a TV game when I went in the early 90s as well. We sang your stand is falling down, and we all got moved from that massive open terrace that went down one side and behind the goal as well. Just showing my age now, and we got sat in front of Ian St John and Dave Bassett. I think he was in the a bit of the roof fell off the old terrace, and like I say, they moved us for our own safety.
We've barely got half the ground open at the moment, so that tells you all you need to know about our ground.
Yeah.
Is that really true? Is that just because of disaffection with the fans? Then is it?
No, genuinely, the
Coventry City fans broke it.
One end is not open, and the bottom end of another stand isn't open.
And
wow! Only opened up the top end of the Tilton about 3 or 4 games in. So
Okay.
genuinely, half the ground was basically closed for a period.
Condemned. It just shows you, though, doesn't it, where clubs are spending the money, because Barnsley have just had to close their main stand as well, haven't they? On a different note,
Yeah.
I read that today. They've just closed the stand.
At least
How
they
is
got
ours
ahead
still
of it and
open?
sent a letter to their fans to say, this is going to be closed, this is how it's going to go, rather than just leading us on and going, I think it's about a week before the game, and just went, by the way, there's going to be a ballot for any season ticket holders in these two stands. You might make one game, you might not make the other.
You've
That's
taken the piss.
amazing.
You've taken the piss, Alex. But by the sound of it, there could be ground sharing with Coventry next year at the Rico.
I know. I mean, listening to this, what safety inspectors do in the main stand? I want to know, because if they're looking at St Andrews going, "Oh, that's a bit dodgy," I hope they don't come up to our end. Christ, don't touch that. That's load-bearing duct tape. That is.
Condemn another stand, and they'll be at Walsall. They can just get down,
Yeah.
can't they? As the ground closes, they're just trying to get rid of season ticket holders.
Ryan knows Solihull Moors very well. There you go. Yeah, Bromsgrove. They've got a nice wall. I like that wall they've got. We'll talk about them later. But Ryan, thank you very much. Have a good time. Enjoy it. Hopefully you'll get at least to go see a game at St Andrews, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Take care, lads. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Right, so we are top of the league. Let's go through Altrincham. Tom has already put the throw-in to the attempted murder to bed. So we don't have to talk about that anymore. But let's talk about the game, because all in all, it seemed to be the most impressive performance so far this season. Bruce, you were there, getting absolutely sodden. I assume National League teams have not discovered a roof yet. What were your thoughts on the match? It'd be good to get your idea of it.
I didn't realise until I've sort of read everything about the game and just how well we played in the first half to contain them. And obviously we got the goal, Bapaga's goal, which was great towards the end of the first half. Couldn't figure out how McAtee had not scored the second, although at the time I didn't realise which player it was just before half time. And that was the one where he wanted a penalty, and Hursty said, the ref said that it was handball that stopped him, but it was too close. And to be fair, it looked fair enough, but it just looked like he couldn't understand from our end how he hadn't scored, but evidently he headed it sort of back across where it had come from, and then it ended up going out for a corner. But the first sort of, until I think Harry Clifton's goal was the 55th minute, that first 10 minutes of the second half was just, I've not seen a Town team attack and attack and attack, and so we just looked like we were going to score at will. And I mean, if that sending off hadn't have come, we could have won that game 4 or 5. We were so dominant. It was a thoroughly entertaining night. The pub before the game, the King George, I think it was well organised. Got loads of bar staff on. They were doing decent food. About a 20-yard walk to the turnstile, and you know what a cracking, was it 1251 or something, wasn't it, on a Tuesday night?
Like
Took us nearly 3 hours to get there. Not quite so long getting back. It was excellent, mate. A great night, and a certainly a changed last 15 minutes, because when their second went in with quarter of an hour to go, I thought we could lose this. And you just gone from a feeling of euphoria and, you know, olays to, oh no, you know. But then after that second goal went in, they didn't really. Macca didn't have too many saves to make, but every time they got a corner on a wet pitch with a soaking wet ball, you just feared the worst. But we hung on, and yeah, it was a really good night, and and to come out and we were still top. Everyone was very, very happy and were very well entertained.
Tom, they're the sort of games that champions win, aren't they? I don't know if you can hear as well. They're the sort of games that we'll look back on when we've lifted that weird pyramid trophy up in the air. Is saying they're the sort of games that won us it, aren't they?
You'd like to think so when you go down to 10 men and you're under the cosh for the last 15 minutes protecting a one goal lead. You'd like to think they're going to be the games that you look back on. I think yesterday as well, getting a goal really late on when it looked like it was going to peter out for a draw. You know, another time where you might look back at the end of the season and think, well, that was 3 crucial points. And it's, you know, both games have kept our momentum going and extended our marginal lead at the top of the table to 2 points. So
unassailable.
Brilliant.
It's
And the goals
unassailable.
look good on Tuesday night. Sorry?
Unassailable lead. It's not tight.
I was sat in the car last night, and Andy Carr had already rung me up to say that we'd gone 1-0 up when the non-goal went in. That was reported all over the media, and I was sat there and I'm like, I've been listening to John Tonder the whole game. I've not missed a goal, have I? But I still doubted myself that something had cut out on my phone.
That's nothing. I was watching the game, but I've spent all of my life now watching it on shitty streams. So I'm thinking, maybe it's coming. Maybe it's just lagging on through my eyes.
But yeah, so he'd rung me once. It was like, I think it was a little bit after that this had happened. I think didn't say that he'd scored in the 61st minute or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, so he rung me up and I'm like, no, they haven't scored. And I went on, but I still checked on a couple of apps just to make sure.
So you should.
Score Flash or whatever it was, and Flash Scores, sorry. And then I was just listening to John Tonder. I was parked outside somebody's house waiting to go in, but I couldn't go in until the game had finished. And he rang me again. He went, "We have scored now, haven't we?" And I was listening on the radio, on the phone, so it was probably 30 seconds behind. I'm like, "Have we? Have we?" And he went, "Yeah, it's just pinged up on my phone." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I just, I couldn't believe it. And I went, "Hang on a minute." So I had him on the phone at the same time as my phone was playing Humberside, and it was like, I think it was something like Hunt, Wright, Clifton, and then John Tonder was off then, and I was like, like you two have just said about late goals and things, winning titles. That was my first thought. Not that my first thought turned to Fergie and his Man United teams, but they used to score a hell of a lot of late goals, and those two extra points at the end of the season.
Yeah,
massive.
Buckley's teams did.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, well, we'll get on to the Woking game. Let's not discount the Altrincham one, because Harry Clifton scored an absolute beauty, didn't he? That build-up play.
That
was
nice.
Come
on, mate. You go.
No, I was just finishing my sentence. You go.
Sorry, mate. No, it was really nice at the time, and it was just good. It was just good football starting on the halfway line, didn't it? And I'm sure everybody's seen it. And the little mistouch from McAtee, or miscontrol, actually, fell really nicely to Clifton. But we'd earned that little slice of luck, and there's nothing. It looks good when a ball hits a wet net, doesn't it? And you get the droplets off the netting, and and it was in front of the town fans, and it was a nice moment. And to go 3-0 up, because it sounds like cliche, but 2-0 is still a hairy scoreline. It's better than 1-0, but only very slightly. And to go 3-0 up, you think you're home and dry. And I think Gary Henshaw said that on the radio. That's the points wrapped up. And I'm sure sort of 20 minutes after that, he was probably thinking, I wish I hadn't said that, because you just don't know. Like Hursty said, that's why he was disappointed, wasn't he, that we didn't push on. And McAtee had a couple of chances. And I think, there were a couple of others where we maybe could have done better to get that fourth goal and just give ourselves that breathing space again. And he keeps reiterating that, doesn't he? And I like that. He wants ruthless. He wants them to be ruthless, and you can see why, because that you just didn't see that coming when we went 3-0 up.
Yeah, I agree. It was incredible, and Gary Henshaw was a great commentator as well. He really gave it some much needed vigor, and it was really interesting to hear a fan as well really sort of let's be honest, not control his emotions, but we don't mind that. It was wonderful to hear, and it made I'll be honest, as I keep saying, I love John Tonder, I really do, but I don't think I could have bared listening to those last 10 minutes with John, because everything sounds like it's always pinging around the in front of the goal with nobody in front of it when he's commentating and we're defending. It was brilliant, and I don't know, I've only written down a couple of notes really about it. Tom, get your Tim Pot klaxon out, my friend, because I'm going to ask this. Should Tim Pot clubs who can't afford a roof should they have to charge less for their standing in substandard facilities? He's not even gonna rise to the bait, listeners.
He's thinking. He's thinking time.
He's gonna think of how he can call me a twat.
A severe Tim Pot.
That is, but I'm sorry, as someone who has.
There we go. We'll end the discussion there. Moving on to the Woking game.
So he agrees. Speaking of Tin Pot clubs, I mean, but as a club that has a roof that has spanned 3 centuries, is there not an ability to stick a roof on something? Because, and if so, should away fans be charged the same if they're put on the worst stand? I find it quite harsh that at Bromley you've got biblical weather, as you did at Altrincham, and they are stood in the pissing rain, and they don't have it. Yeah, Bruce, go ahead.
Does that mean beer gets discounted in the fan zone in the winter?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Pre new regime, it was at least at most 30% beer. Let's be entirely honest.
No, you're right. I don't mind paying a little bit more. It's up to me. You got to drink it quick so you don't get watered down. That's all.
Anymore. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the Woking game. As I've said on the title of the show, the curse has been listed. I have finally seen a win. My last win was Swindon away with Michael Jolly as manager after Harry Clifton was viciously assaulted with a leg nowhere near him for a penalty that Mitch Rose put away.
That was a good day,
Bruce,
wasn't it, though? That was a good day.
That was a good one. I don't know if my voice...
Cardwell, though.
Was it Harry Cardwell that put it away?
Yeah. Oh, no, Cardwell that got the penalty.
I thought it was Clifton.
Anyway, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that was a cracking day. My first trip to Swindon, and we really needed that point. That probably was the game that probably kept us up that season. I know we beat, was it Notts County at the end, but that result at Swindon was great. That was a great day. Turned up and they never did announce how many town fans there were, but there must have been 700 or 800. Sorry, we digress.
I know, it's all right. I don't mind. It's what we're here for. But Woking,
you got your moment, your moment.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Got to enjoy the local weather. It was lovely, at least. So no roof on that tin pot stand. It was all right. You could suffer that. But overall, Tom, what were your impressions of the game and ourselves? And from the 3 games I've been lucky enough to see this season, that was the best performance. And after that, I'd have said Bromley and then Maidenhead.
Well, before we get on to that, should we do a little programme review? The Cardinal, £3. Really. I quite liked it. They I think we should do this in all programmes. They did for the home team. They did like little pen picks and a little description of the player or whatever, rather than just the away team. Well, because when you're visiting a club, you don't actually know anything about the home players either, do you? So it's quite handy to know a little bit about their players.
At least he's not
2,000.
Pardon?
It's good for their extra 2,000 new fans.
It is, yeah. I'll tell you something though. Is this what's going to happen every time you have an email ticket instead of a real one? What were your thoughts on the
I can't hear what you're saying, to be honest. You're breaking up a lot. Just go into the game review because I presume you can hear me. I thought it was a really good game. 2 good sides facing off against each other, and it was quite end-to-end at times. Fox forced a really good save from their keeper in the second half. I thought that one was in. And Taylor had a really good chance in the second half where we sort of flashed it across the 6-yard box and he just couldn't quite get on the end of it. Clifton had a really good game and got into the non-league papers team of the week. I think we've had a player in the non-league papers team of the week pretty much every week so far this season.
Towler had a 5. What did you think of that? A rating of 5.
Yeah, I thought the ratings were a bit harsh because Macca only got a 6, which, given that they only had 4 shots on target. So I think that's a little harsh, really. And
Towler saved one of them, didn't he?
I thought it was Waterfall when he cleared it off the line.
I don't know.
It said Towler on the radio, but you were there.
Well, I was there, but I get a lot of things wrong, to be honest with you. So it could well have been Towler. But there was a couple of players behind it after he rounded the keeper. There was a couple of players back anyway, weren't there? It didn't, even though he'd got past Macca, it didn't really look like he was going to score.
We'll know on Thursday, won't we, when the highlights come out?
Yeah. What did you think of Ben Fox's game, Tom? I know you mentioned him a minute ago.
Yeah, I thought he played well. I thought generally yesterday, when we sort of broke into their half, we really pushed up onto the edge of their box, and there was a lot of space, certainly on the left-hand side, just behind that line of players, which we didn't really exploit. I thought we would have done better if someone, because they were playing quite deep as well, like someone dropping into that space would have maybe either allowed us to get the ball forward on the deck a bit better, or at least create a bit more space in behind. And until the goal came, that was sort of one of my frustrations really of our performance, was that we didn't exploit that space, and it seemed to be costing us. But when the goal did come, it worked really well. And I thought a player like Fox, if we'd exploited that space a bit better, it might have allowed him to get more players involved, because he was sort of key to our performance yesterday. A lot did go through him in the centre of the park. But I thought Clifton was all over the place again.
I thought
in a good way.
I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I thought Fox was quite poor yesterday, but I thought he had an off game. It's probably the best instead of saying poor. But yeah, it's good to see that people see different things. I just thought he'd a few wayward passes and sort of lost the ball quite. We lost the ball as a team quite a lot yesterday. Woking were really good, especially in that first half of sort of, as rugby players would say, turning over play and getting away with it, because it seemed to be they were quite energetic in that way. But I
thought if anyone was disappointing yesterday, for me it was Hunt.
Okay.
I thought he did really well to stay on till 85 minutes. I thought he was very quiet, and obviously they sort of keep him on because he's got that great set piece delivery, I presume. But I thought yesterday we would have done well to take him off a bit earlier and freshen it up in midfield earlier on, which obviously Max Wright did when he came on. He really did sort of put some energy into our forward line and was involved in the goal.
I think that's a bit of credit to Hursty as well, isn't it? That he sometimes has been accused of making negative substitutions, and I think to stick someone like Max Wright on with a few minutes to go, and I think it's a great tactic if he's not fully fit at the moment. He came on and scored a goal, didn't he, against Wrexham, and then he's come on again yesterday, and like you say, Tom, been involved in a goal. I mean, you wouldn't want when you're tiring, and we work hard as it is by default. You come on with you've got 5 minutes to go and you're tired, you've got tired legs, and you've been chasing after McAtee or Hunt or Fox or Sousa or whoever all afternoon, and Max Wright comes on. You're not going to be very comfortable with that, are you?
I'm hoping this is the season he gets a good run at it, because he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, and he brought Pearson on right at the end, but that wasn't like a sort of an out protect your lead substitution. They actually moved their centre forward up top, their centre half up top, to try and cause some problems going into the last few minutes in the stoppage time. So again, that was a really good substitution in the sense that he reacted really quickly to their tactical change, and obviously, it worked out for us.
I was surprised I didn't see Coke. I mean, you're talking about Hunt coming off. I thought that'd have been, as a like-for-like substitution in the middle of the park, I thought that'd have been given the aggression and the physicality of Woking. I was surprised he didn't come on, but I guess they were quite sharp on the break, and I'd imagine Coke one-on-one or with trying to track back with any of those guys would have probably not stood a chance, because some of their players were absolutely rapid.
Yeah, I think as well, like we just needed a bit more pace and energy going forward, and Coke is not an incisive player in the sense that he's going to take the ball and run up players. He's our, we were talking about in the pub before the game yesterday. Anybody who has watched Wales, like Joe Allen, he's sort of like the Grimsby equivalent to Wales is Joe Allen.
Absolutely,
he keeps the ball moving. keeps recycling the ball, as people like to say now. He just takes one touch, give and go, and keeps us in possession. And at that point in the game, I think we needed a little bit more than just keeping in possession. We were trying to go for the win, and so we needed a bit of pace and trickery as much as anything else.
Yeah, Mike said. Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's brilliant that the two results this week. I think both those teams had 100% home records, didn't they? Until we went there. I could be wrong again. I'm putting some stuff out today that's probably a load of bollocks, but they both.
Bruce. Do your research, mate. Woking have lost 2 at home now. And
I do apologize. Well, Altrincham had. I'm sure they've won every game.
Altrincham had won every game. Yeah,
it shows no mercy.
50% success rate.
Hey Bruce, he was this cold at the game yesterday. He walked in the turnstile and he was off with his COD Almighty mates. We didn't see him after that. Discussing Tolstoy or whatever they do. I believe it was Proust that once said that Waterfall was slow on the turn or whatever they talk about.
It's beyond us, isn't it, mate? It's beyond our comprehension.
And then you got the grim outlook, the old grim outlook in the corner discussing their favourite cheese. You know, you'd have liked. I sat with our friends Gareth and Lloyd yesterday. I mean, they enjoyed my one-man crusade against Woking yesterday, throwing barbs at them. But there was one point there was
just for the record, Alex was literally 2 rows in front of me.
Oh, was he? Yeah. You poor son. Did you not hear Gareth call the people behind us Statler and Waldorf? They were the most miserable sons of the bitches I've ever. So much so that we moved in the halftime. And also, for the first time, I don't want to bring it down a bit, but I met my first booer yesterday of the knee taker. Some 65-year-old haggard old man who, unfortunately, I was so taken aback. I stumbled back and almost, I stumbled back and I stood on his toe. I felt really bad for it. But, when you're getting through a packed terrace, it's, kind of hard to get through. But there we go. So it was a thoroughly entertaining win and I loved it. My son did get a slushie for anyone who saw our Twitter things because even though it is for winners, I can't listen to that complaining all the way home. Stuart John, and here's a question because Stuart, you've asked a question that I was going to bring up. This is controversial. I think we do need another striker, and I think yesterday was a good point in case as why we do. I thought Taylor and McAtee were handled really well with Woking, and I don't think we'll meet many teams that will handle them so well. But when we're bringing on Lenny, who gives us something, there's a tweet I put out earlier which was suggested I wasn't thinking he was good. I think he gives us some physicality, and I think he gives us an opportunity to use other players off him. But if we had someone of the same ilk as Caden Jackson or alike, I think that would be quite nice. And I think that's something we do miss up front. But I agree with what Hurst says about trying. You want to pick the right person. And we're top of the league and we've scored the most goals out of anybody. So maybe I should shut up.
You would think if with us being the longer we stay up towards the top, the better caliber of loan player we might be offered as well. Somebody that's going to come in playing in a confident side. So that's maybe one to consider. But I do tend to agree with Lenny. He at the moment, and I mean Hurst has said, hasn't he, that he doesn't feel he's fit to start a game yet. And I think when he comes on, he looks a yard off the pace at the moment. And that's not a dig at the guy. Hurst, he said he's not ready to start games. And obviously with the lack of reserve games that you get, of which we've talked about before,
yeah, true.
Where do they get the match practice anymore? I think somebody said we've got 3 reserve games before Christmas and 1 got called off. It's not a chance for the fringe players to get any football, is it? So you're either in the matchday squad or you're just training and you don't play any games. It's not good, really.
Yeah,
no,
but last time Hurst was here, they did arrange other games in the week that were like behind closed doors games against like Scunny for reserve teams.
Other non-league teams, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Mike. I hear what you're saying.
We want these players to be tested, Tom, don't we?
Yeah.
We might have to travel further than Scunny.
Did Queen Elizabeth High School not have a team they can play? You know, might be a bit tougher.
Just allow them to play King Edward, couldn't we, or something?
Mike, you're going on the naughty step. We can't talk about. He's gone. You got to let him go, man. But announce Bogle.
I don't think he's the sort of character we're looking for.
He's going to be a nice, determined character that comes in. He's not going to cause any waves as he sort of does a handbrake turn in Cheapside car park, throwing gravel and dirt over all the players warming up. I think it'd be nice to get someone in, but I'm quite happy for him to look. But I think, yes, they did highlight it. Lenny, as you said, you're right, Tom. And you're right, Bruce. Like he did feel like he doesn't look fit, but he did help contribute to that goal. He helped carve a path for it. And that was nice to see. Also, we got to mention, first of all, we've got to mention Harry Clifton. I thought his performances have been brilliant. Hurst is absolutely right. Adding injuries in. Stuart has just put a message in, and I'll put it up in a second because it's gonna. Don't make him rise to it. Right, here we go. I'm going to put this in. I wanted to say Clifton, great to see him scoring some goals. I wanted to say well done to Towler, who has been nicknamed Baby Handicide by our friends as well. And I wanted to give credit to Waterfall as well. So here we go, Tom. Question just for you.
I think that's one for Hurst to judge, isn't it?
When do you think it's time to tell Scannell to go forth and multiply? He's injured all the time, injured again, obviously a couple of weeks out, apparently, and then we can have him. He must be good round the dressing room. Hurst wouldn't have him if he wasn't good round the players, I guess. And speaking, sorry.
Presumably, he's obviously looked half decent when he has trained because he's not been shown the door like the other players that were here when Hurst arrived, and have, like we haven't mentioned it. Danny Rose went out on loan to Gateshead this week. He's not impressed enough to be involved with
Darlington.
This squad.
Tom, sorry.
Darlington, sorry, yeah.
Bruce. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. But you know what I'm saying.
But should we also apologise to Darlington? We've taken Enrico Souza off them, and in return we gave them Danny Rose just to spit in their face, I assume.
It's just harsh, yeah. But...
on Darlington.
I think you're right there, what you say. I mean, Scannell must show something.
Same with Matt Green, isn't it?
That he didn't get disregarded.
Yeah, same with Matt Green, isn't it? He was useless on the pitch, but obviously clearly had something that Hurst quite like having around the club. He likes to play players with the right attitudes, doesn't he? He likes the players who can, really motivate and get going.
He was a trier, wasn't he? But he just didn't have it anymore, I don't think. So much so that sometimes we looked like he wasn't trying.
Nathan Moncaster came in. It's a low-hanging fruit, but we're all for it. There is no 5G signal in Darlington yet. Then most probably not, or maybe they play in a Faraday cage or something. So he's absolutely fine to play there. Maybe. I mean, FA Cup draw. We've got to talk about that. People at Bromsgrove very happy. Anybody see the massive queues outside their ground today as they were queuing for their 4th round cup final tickets? Tom, you raised your hand. What did you want to say?
Well, I can do a little preview on them for you if you want.
Good, because I've asked Bromsgrove's fans to come on and they're all bloody ignoring us. That's his research.
Well, they're currently 10th in the Southern League Premier Division Central. So the Southern League's been sort of new region. It's been divided up into the sort of top tier of the Southern League. I think is in 3 or 4 divisions now.
Could they not add another region into the league title?
Yeah, it's got 2 Premier Divisions, and then 2 Division 1s now. Anyway, they're 10th in that league, and their manager's called Bren Kelly. They lost on Saturday away at Lowestoft 2-1, and their game in the previous round of the FA Cup, they beat Welwyn Garden City, and then in the week just gone, they played Hensford Town in the Southern League Cup, which they won 4-0, fielding 5 players under 20. And then the previous week, they played Hensford Town in the league and won 2-1. It's only their 12th season of existence, and they've been promoted in each of the last 3 seasons. And their top scorers are all on 3 goals, and they are Cameron Ebbett, Dimitri Brown, Nathan Haywood. And in their whole squad, they've only got 4 players over 30. So it's quite a young team.
I mean, I don't know if you listened to his interview, but he's not a man for as much passion is the old manager there. He's a, he's a dour fella. He wasn't particularly too bothered about getting us in the cup, but it's on the telly.
They're also playing us on Tuesday night. Sorry, they're playing Banbury on Tuesday night. Yeah, I think there's an interview with him in the non-league paper, or did I read it online? And basically, I think he was a little bit disappointed to get such a high-ranking team in the 4th qualifying round. I think they were hoping to have a chance, theoretically, on paper.
Oh, Tom, damn him words. They'll be sticking that on the.
You know what I mean? I think he feels like if they'd have drawn a team at their level, they might have had a better chance of getting through. I'm not saying they're not going to give us a good game.
Tom says they're going to get hammered.
No, I don't say that they're going to get hammered. I think this is a potential banana skin. And it's definitely got Tin Pot Klaxon written all over it.
And it's going to be live on national TV for you all to watch.
Exactly.
Bruce, have you got any thoughts on it? It just looks like a nice ground for everyone to go to and lose 1-0 at.
I've been a bad parent today, really. I said to Maisie last week, the other week, she chose that she wanted to go and watch Town rather than go to a friend's birthday party, which was like fantastic. I want to go to that. I want to go to the home game. Brilliant. I've cracked it. I've done it. On the way home from Altrincham on Tuesday, which was her first night midweek away game. I said to her, right, you've got that team bonding bowling thing with your football team on Saturday. Well, Town are at Bromsgrove in the cup, and the kickoff unfortunately has been moved to 12:30. So we're going to go to the football. And she said she wanted to go bowling. Claire's away for the weekend. So I've tossed and turned and lost sleep at night, and it's a ground I've never been to, obviously. And I've arranged, I can't even look after her for the whole weekend when Claire's away. I've arranged for someone to have her on Saturday for the day. And I've said that I'll be back at about 5:30, 6. So, yeah, twat dad, bad dad, whatever. Couldn't look after his own daughter for the weekend when Town were at Bromsgrove in the cup.
Dad of the year over there. Don't worry. I mean, I did. I mean, who's worse? You're more than welcome to vote on it. When I saw, we went, Charlie and my wife were over in the park after the Woking game when I ran over and I just screamed loser in his face. Right, let's rattle through some questions. Also, before we do so, congratulations to the Grimsby Town women's teams. Absolutely hammered Appleby Frobbingham. 10-1. 10-1. They now hold the franchise. Do we call ourselves a franchise? The franchise record for the biggest win. 10-1. I keep getting told it's not the 9-2 win over Darwin. I think the one that we scored the most goals at should be the biggest win. But there we go. It's the 8-0 at Tranmere, which is apparently it, which doesn't sound as impressive. But congratulations.
Do you want to know the scorers?
I mean, we've already gone over an hour, but yeah, go on.
What year was it?
It was today, Bruce.
I was going to say, I bet
it was today.
Danielle Brighton, Emily Blythe, Becky Taylor, Holly Smith all got 1 each. Ellie Wilson got 2, and Amber Sharp got 4.
Emily Blythe is only 16, isn't she?
A hat trick. And they have maintained their 100% record at the top of the table. So they're on 12 points. So I'm sure Dale, one of our recent guests and the manager, will be very pleased with their start to the season in the East Midlands North Division.
I looked today to try and find a photo of them because I thought they were top of the league, but like you say, they've played 4 games now and they're second on goal difference. Because that would be a nice. So hopefully next league game they'll win next weekend, and we can get a photo of both teams top of the league together.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We'll get some. I'll ask the youth team as well to send it in. Let's see where they all are as well. Let's rattle through some questions. Let's go. Joe Turner said it might be early days, but how do you rate this current squad against the 2015-2016 team? Who would get into it as well? I mean, aside from Amund and Bogle, I don't even think they would be on the bench at the moment. McAtee and Taylor have been pretty awesome. If you could take 2 players from that team, who would you take? Bruce, I'll go to you first.
Bloody hell! I thought we were supposed to be preparing for this. No warning, right? So you want 2?
No warning. I mean, they were up on Twitter.
2 players from 15-16 to take into this squad.
Yeah, you can take 2.
Amund.
Okay.
And towards the end of the season, probably John Nolan, because I think he's different to what we've got now.
I thought you were going to say Hoban.
Pat Hoban.
So, yeah, I think Nolan would be mine as well. What about you, Tom?
Is that the same question to me?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Bogle and Amund.
There we go. We're just going to play all the strikers instead. It'd be pretty impressive. Great 3 points, said Mike McKay. Well, you're listening to this, you know what you said. Not a question for the show, but yeah, Dan, don't worry, I'll sort some out. I'm at 5-a-side tomorrow, so I might not be able to do it then. Andrew Weeks, that was the man I was thinking of. Who's the best worst team we've faced so far? Have we yet faced a team who are better than us? Any individual oppositions who had stood out as well? I liked Effiong yesterday. I've always shone a light for that guy. He's sensational. I'd love him in the town squad. I thought up until about 55 minutes, Woking gave as good as we got. But I haven't seen a team. I don't think Bromley were any better than us on that night. It was just freak conditions. What about you guys, Bruce? You've seen more teams. Is there anyone that's matched us and looked better than us?
I thought Weymouth were quite good, and I thought when we played them, Barnet played better than their league position suggests. But last few games, we've come up against really hard-working teams. I think it looked like Bromley when you went on that. I know the conditions changed the game, but they looked like they worked hard. Certainly, when we went to Maidenhead, they put. We were both. Well, all 3 of us were at that game. They put a shift in, and I think it took us time. But I thought Hurst's comments yesterday were interesting. That he thought that at half time they thought that they'd matched us for our for fitness and effort, and he said I don't think they can. And it's shown with a couple of late goals in games, hasn't it? You think we've scored a few late goals now, and I think we are typically of Hursty and his team, which we try give 100%, and we're very fit. And I think at this level, that's catching teams out late on, and I think we've shown that already.
I think it helps as well. We've had such a long pre-season, isn't it? We're better prepared than most teams that we're facing, isn't it?
Yeah, and also we've now got 2 weeks with just 1 game. That's brilliant.
Nice. Adam Panel wanted to know how much cash we get for TV. I don't know if we do actually, mate. I assume it'll be nominal. If so,
you do get cash, and I know someone who will know, so I will find out and get Alex to tweet it from the pod account.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Who wins what as well? Is it like you get $9,000 or something to win or something? I don't know.
£9,000 to the winner and £3,000 to the loser.
That's going in Mr. Fenty's pocket.
Money towards the new tractor.
I don't think it will be. I think it will be going to a disgraced local councillor. Let's have a look. Kelly wanted to say, she said she listened to last week's pod in the gym. Don't listen to us. We're not going to be motivating you. But anyway, I mean, it's an hour and 8 minutes in. So I hope you're still on the treadmill then, because you said that we helped you work a bit harder. So go for it. Keep going. You can give up in about 2 or 3 minutes when we finish off. Andrew Weeks asked who was the worst team we've played. I mean, is it Dover?
They were a shambles. Yeah.
I thought Woking were the best team I've seen. I thought they gave us a really good game, and they will have finished that game really disappointed, like the Altrincham manager was on Tuesday night, gracious in defeat as he was. Woking had 2 shots in the second half that, from where I was stood, looked like they went very closely past Macca's far post. And they could, they could have quite easily got an equaliser. Fucking hell, I'd struggle with that there, didn't I? On another day.
I think that's aimed at Alex.
I hadn't even had a pint.
Can we stop using the F? He's not Voldemort. He's a funny character that we can disgrace and laugh at. But yeah, fair enough. If it upsets you, I can understand why. But some of us are still getting over it. Is the appointment of Ollie Howard as physio a replacement? From what I know, it's not. Grimsby Exiles. It is just an additional person in the squad that's going to help with the youth team and alike. Moro is not retiring, and is still there in his shorts. I assume he will die one day when his powers of immortality and cold aversion will sadly fail him. He'll get pneumonia after a game in May or something. And he'll die at the ripe old age of 182.
We'll all be long gone by then.
Yeah, absolutely. Up the Mariners, Ad Infinium asked do you think the table is now starting to divide, and is it going to be the results between the top 7-8 teams? Well, from the little stats we put out earlier, there's Stockport upwards are the teams that are going to have a chance of winning this league. So they're your main contenders for the title. Anything out of that would be a statistical anomaly. That was easy to say.
Yeah, we got to remember there's Woking, for example, have only played 9 games. Wrexham have only played 9 games, and they're below that. So if they win their games in hand, they would be within that bracket. Yeovil have only played 8 games. Same again, they're down in 15th. If they win their, I mean, I know it's a lot to ask, but if they did win their games in hands, it would bring them into that group.
I think I've finished the list, gentlemen. Is there anything else you want to ask anybody out there who's listening? Is anything anybody wants to add before we go off and enjoy a week of top table glory?
2 weeks, isn't it?
I'd just like to add, our next league game is against Yeovil, and they're playing on Tuesday night, and then they're playing in the Cup. So they've got quite a busy schedule coming up.
Yeah.
Which hopefully will play in our hands.
Good work, Tom.
We haven't laughed at Scunny losing 6-1 to a tea room, but that's always nice to see. Neil Cox hasn't been sacked from there, but another local man has been. Phil Brown, sacked at Southend. Their days get even worse. I'm sure they'll be looking to us to help put their message out there when they play us in November. It is November, I think, isn't it? About Martin and getting him out. Sad state of affairs down there. I quite like them lot. But anybody got anything to add before we wrap it up and go our ways?
Have a good week. Enjoy being
absolutely.
Top. Up the Mariners.
This doesn't happen very often, my friends. Tom, you got any parting words before we go?
No, as Bruce says, enjoy being top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to enjoy running around Woking every day, singing, black and white for you, and nobody will have a clue what it means.
Did they change the lights on the McLaren factory black and white?
Yeah, that's what they did, my friend. Yeah, they might have just been switched off, but they might just need some changing. But thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you had a good day yesterday and enjoy being top. We shall speak to you all very shortly. Have a nice day. See you later. I'm going to kick everybody.
Scunthorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.